What's up, guys? It's Chris. Today we're going to be doing a map tier list in order of which maps I think are best for killers versus worst to killers. So S is best, F is worst, and let's get right into it. We started out with, for S tier, I think this is Midwich. Yeah, it's got the clock tower. Okay, so I think the best killer map in the game is definitely Midwich. It's small, a lot of places to corner survivors easily for the majority of killers. Not too many super safe pallets either. Just like 2 really strong pallets on this map, and that's about it. Well, maybe 3. You can give them 3. But still, I think Midwich is the best map in general for killer. By the way, when I'm doing this list, it's not every killer is the same. So, like, it's not for every single killer, just in general. That's kind of what I'm going off of here. So it's not specifically for the artist, not specifically for any killer, just in general. It's not going to be true for every killer in the game. And that honestly might be all I put for S tier. Another one I'll say, maybe not S tier, but I want to put another map in S tier. Wrecker's Yard. It doesn't have super strong loops or anything. The main building's like probably the weakest main building in the entire game for any map for survivors. So honestly, Wrecker's Yard is pretty solid for killer too. Another one that can be really nice is Family Residence. The loops are never insanely strong, and I never see too much stuff actually just straight chained together. A lot of weak pallets that you can just play around pretty easily, and you can almost always force a 3-gen on this map if you really want to. Whether it's by the main building or by shack, you can almost always have a 3-gen, which is really strong for a killer. Get somebody dead and just play around a 3-gen. Dead Dog also, even though there's a ton of breakable walls you have to break on this map, like a ridiculous amount, once you do, a lot of the chases can be pretty quick on the majority of killers. And they only have like 4 strong pallets on this map, and the rest are pretty awful for the most part. So honestly, once you get the breakable walls done, especially if you do it early on, or you're a killer who could just play around windows easily, pretty solid killer map. I'll put Coal Tower, because it is small. The only problem with me doing this, I don't know, I almost want to put it B tier, so we might change this. There are some times, especially if you're playing like an M1 killer, like Wraith or Trapper or something like that, they have so much stuff just chained together. Like, I've seen insane coal towers. It could be like cowshed levels of shit that you could play around. But with the new updates and more unique tiles and stuff, I haven't seen anything too crazy. Where is it? Thompson House. Well, Thompson House is the only Coldwood map I think is actually solid for killer. The main building is nothing too crazy, and there's a lot of just dead space on this map, like a ton. And if you can just get one corner of the map chopped out and play around a 3-gen. The only thing about this map is survivors are going to have 2 free gens. But if you understand that as a killer, you give the gen by like Cowtree or Shack. Probably Cowtree though, because it's just 1 gen in the middle of fucking nowhere. And the main building gen, if you're just planning to give those 2 gens going into this, you're going to have a great time. You're just going to destroy. Because they really don't have that much to work with, honestly. I think we'll put Groaning Storehouse also A tier for killer. Again, they can get some pretty nasty loops, but if you're giving the gens that you need to that are just on the way outsides, you could force survivors into a lot of bad decisions. Even like teams of survivors, like people on comms and stuff. If you're giving those gens and just playing around the 5 in the main area, kind of, it's going to be a pretty good time. Even if you're just playing around 4. I think that's it. So B tier, I'm going to start with Shelter Woods, which survivors do not get. There's like 10 pallets on this map total, and half of them are just terrible. But the gen spread is actually like worse than Rotten Fields. Yeah, Shelter Woods is one of those maps where the survivors, if they're efficient on gens, they're going to get done, and you won't be able to like defend most of them. But if you're playing around a 3-gen and creating a quick dead zone, which is not hard to do on this map, because there's 10 pallets total on the entire thing, pretty decent killer map. It's not bad at all. I'm going to put Disturbed ward in B tier also. The main building's hell, but if you're avoiding that, a lot of quick downs in this map, I think. So yeah, I think Rancid Abattoir can be pretty solid for killer as well. I've never seen it be too insanely strong, ever. The one thing is where Cow Tree spawns, you could potentially have 2 jungle gyms tied into it, which could be insane. But then just avoid that corner. Like, only 2 gens can spawn over there. Just, like, avoid it. I would put ARP in B tier 2, though. You can force a 3-gen on this map also. The one thing is, if you're a killer without a strong chase power, you want to avoid that middle area most of the time, because it'll just be strong loop, chained into strong loop, chained into strong loop. And that can be really hard to deal with if survivors know what they're doing. So, but if you can create a dead zone on one side of the map and force a 3-gen, they could be pretty screwed. Like, honestly, on this map. Okay, we'll put Gas 7 in B tier also. I don't think it's a terrible map. A lot of killers can do really well on this one. Like the ones I was just saying, rely on line of sight. Huntress, Deathslinger, Trickster, Demi, Nurse, Blight even can do really good on this map. Like, the one problem is, if it's a slow killer, like Deathslinger, if survivors are going nutty at the start, you're going to have a really tough time managing the gens. Because it is pretty big. The gens are really spread out from corner to corner. But other than that, it's not a terrible killer map. It's not. Temple. Okay, Temple I think is a pretty solid killer map. If you're not playing around, like if, again, you're playing on one side of it. If you're just running into that random corner where there's literally nothing but a gen and you're sacking everything on the other side of the map, you're probably screwed. But there's not an obscene amount of strong stuff on this map. I can't remember the last time I played on this and like I felt like there was nothing I could do. Like there was always potential to set up a 3-gen or something, even if I'm not trying to go for it. And getting pallets out of the way, as long as you understand where the most pallet dense part of the map is pretty simple. So we're going to go C tier, and I'm going to put Blood Lodge right away. Map's super open, which is great for somebody like Huntress and stuff like that. But on the flip side, it's super open, which is terrible if you're not a Huntress. Gens can be pretty easy to deal with. The main building could be stupid strong some games, like depending on the RNG. Like having it chained into stuff. Like their main building on Blood Lodge can be really, really good, especially if you have like balanced landing. Dude, you could run a killer here on just the main building itself with the pallets that'll spawn on the outsides of it. I mean, you can run the killer there for over a minute without even getting hit. So it can be pretty nuts. You're never going to sneak up on people. Also, if you're a strong killer like Nemesis or like Plague, they're going to just see you coming towards them from across the map. It's really, really hard. And then they have just so much distance on you. It'll take you 30 seconds to even get near somebody. But when you do end up cornering people, it's not too bad most of the time. B tier, also Torment Creek. Like I was just saying, main building, pretty easy to play around when you break the breakable wall. Just some strong pallets and stuff. So if you're avoiding main building, you're good to go. Also, we're going to put Wrecker's Yard. It can be, like, depending on the killer you're playing, it can be pretty hard to deal with a lot of the strong pallets and stuff. But if you're creating dead zones and making it kind of work for you, a lot of killers with any chase power can make this map pretty solid for them. And I'm going to put Ironworks of Misery in C tier also. The one thing I really hate about this map, outside of the insanely strong pallets that can just spawn all around Shack, is the main building. If a survivor runs up this main building, like, it's so much time wasted for you that it's, like, literally not even worth it the majority of the time. If they start running up there, you just leave them. And I think that's pretty lame. So, for that reason, it's just going to be straight up C tier. I think Larry's isn't too bad. There's some strong loops and stuff like that. Some really strong pallets and stuff. But once you start knocking them out of the way, you realize there's not that many pallets on the map. And without survivors knowing exactly where you're coming from most of the time, perks like Tinkerer or playing a stealth killer and stuff can be really, really good on this map. It's not bad. Larry's is not bad as far as indoor maps go. I'll put Pale Rose C. There's only 3 actually, like, areas of the map that survivors can even loop at all, pretty much. The main building completely plays itself. You just have to look at it right away as a killer and identify where the windows are on the sides and make sure to not run them that way and cut them off from those. But for the most part, the main building pretty much just runs itself as a survivor. Not really too much thinking. 2 solid pallets, really good windows on it. So just be careful about that. And as far as, again, I'm kind of putting it here because if I have to go to the swamp, this is the map I would want. I would not want Grim Pantry at all. We can put Suffo Pit in C also. For the same reason that I would put ARP for the most part, except the main building's a lot stronger on Suffo Pit. So you can like always get a 3-gen. Always. If you're just playing around one side of the map. And I kind of avoid the middle. It's very close to ARP, except for Suffo Pit actually has a strong main building. And I think that's it for C tier. So now we're going to go... Oh, no. One more. Sanctum also is a C tier map. Bringing Corrupt makes this map as a killer pretty free. Not anything super insane to chain together for loops. You can get a really, really good early game from going to the top of main and looking for people. Yeah, if you have Corrupt as a killer on this map, it's pretty easy to get rolling. But that's going to be it for C. So D tier now, we're going to put Grim Pantry, which the main building on this map is an abomination. I don't know who created this map, but whoever made that main building, I'm sorry, bro. They should be fired. It's horrible. I don't know. Like, no matter, even if you're running it the ideal way as a killer, it's insane still. Like, it's so strong, it plays itself. You don't even need to think. That main building is an embarrassment on this map. I don't even want to talk about the small structures that they put also with the dock and whatever that little 2-story building is. It's bad, bro. This map needs to get reworked. It's bad. Also, Father Campbell's Chapel is a D tier map. It can be almost as bad as Cowshed when it really comes down to it. Just strong shit. Strong tied into a strong pallet, into a strong loop, into shack with the window facing like a jungle gym window. Like, it's the amount of stuff I've seen on this map that is just so stupid blows my mind. This is also a D tier map. Mother's Dwelling is also going to be a D tier map. It's the biggest map in the game, so right off the bat, it's not a good thing for killer. But you can set yourself up with gens decently. I've gotten plenty of 3-gens on this map without even really trying to do it. The thing is, you have to know when to let somebody go and to just kind of chill in your area. If you get a really good start on this map, you can just dominate. They'll probably still get a gen or 2 because the map's just so big. But if you get a good start on Mother's Dwelling, they don't have that much stuff to work with because it's also spread out. You can end your chases pretty quick if you have any chase power at all, just because there's the distance between a lot of the loops and pals and stuff is pretty huge. The main building is still gross on this map. It is, and it's still a giant map, so figuring out exactly where to get started can be really hard at the start. But other than that, it's not as bad as maps get in DBD for killer. Also, D tier is Rotten Fields. The gen spread on this map is unbelievable. It's a cold one map, so you have shack in the middle, which is the only thing that's good for killers because you know the basement's right in the middle every time. And if you're getting there early, you can play around that if you really have to get something going for yourself, playing around that central basement. But really strong loops. A lot of stuff can be chained together. The gen spread's almost impossible to deal with sometimes, especially if you're a 110 killer like Deathslinger or something like that. You're just not going to be able to manage the gens. It's just not possible. But you can play around altruism and that basement and maybe some heavy slowdown perks and make it work for you. The map's bad, though. It's not good. Also in D tier is Ormond. Map's huge. Limitless pallets. If you're a killer that can't deal with that, you're probably screwed. Like, there is a stupid amount of pallets on this map, and most of them are pretty good. And the map's huge. Main building's really good. God palette. Really strong stuff. And also D tier. We're putting RPD. You can get a lot of the pallets out of the way. The map's huge, so getting to gens can be really hard. But on the flip side, it also can be really hard for survivors to get to their teammates to unhook them, which can actually work in your favor a lot of the time. So it's not terrible, but man, it can feel really bad to play on this map sometimes with all the strong pallets and strong loops. They kind of just play themselves here. Okay, I think that's it for D tier. Okay, now we're going to go to F tier. F tier is Cowshed. This map is a nightmare. This map is usually just a nightmare. If you are playing an M1 killer and you get Cowshed, you are going to lose the game unless the survivors are brand new. The amount of strong shit on this map. Somehow, the killer gets all the pallets out of the way on this map. And all the strong stuff. That's enough time for like 9 gens to be done. Like actually. So it's pretty disgusting. Eyrie of Crows has the same thing. Every pallet on this map is strong. Every single one. And there's like 20 of them, dude. And all in one spot. And the main building's stupid. And it has a shack. It's like, bro, that doesn't even talk about the fact that they have like jungle gyms and stuff that still spawn on this map with all that stuff for some reason. It's mind-blowing. The map is terrible. I thought once they released the artist, they would have gotten to a point where they'd be a little bit better with map design, but unfortunately, they're just not. Somehow, the maps keep getting worse and worse, and I don't know what's going on with that. Big F tier is the meat plant. I mean, bro, if you've played on the meat plant, I don't have to say anything. They cannot run out of pallets. And there's like 10 god pellets on the map. There's like 15 strong ones. And then there's some scattered around that aren't that good. It's ridiculous. And there's 2 very strong window loops. With the drop down and then the freezer window. It's pretty insane how bad that map is. And the fact that they reworked Haddonfield first. Speaking of Haddonfield, it's still F tier. Blows my mind that they would rework Haddonfield before this map. Haddonfield's still F tier. The main buildings, once you understand them as a survivor, are so free. Literally, a Meg can run them. And I'm serious. A Meg head can run the loops on these buildings. It's stupid, bro. Like, there's no stagger on the drop downs from any of the windows and stuff, like on the first floor. So they get just mega free distance. Really, really, really strong pallets. The whole middle of the area of the map is so open, which you would think is like decent for stuff like Huntress and stuff like that. It's good for Nurse, okay? That's like it, though. If you're any other killer, say you're like a Nemesis or like a Plague, and you start walking at them from across the map, then you have to take like 30 to 45 seconds to catch up to the survivor. And by that point, they're at a loop that plays itself completely. And they don't have to think at all. It's just brain off, jump down window, do the same thing like 2 more times till it blocks. If you're even in chase at that point. With strong pallets all around the loops. It's crazy. Also, the newest map, who would have thought, is one of their worst maps they've ever made. The amount of strong pallets, strong loops, all chained together. I don't even want to think about the main building. The main building gives me nightmares. The fact that it's called Garden of Joy and Garden of Pain shows you just how little behavior understands about their game. This map is horrible. There's one corner of the map where there's only 2 strong things. A loop and there's always going to be like a strong pallet around there. But other than that, the entire map is a fucking nightmare for a killer. The center area, I've only usually see 1 strong pallet, like right directly in the middle of the map, next to the main building. But then you have that disgusting main building with like 2 to 3 god windows, a god pallet on the outside, and all around that. Okay, let's start from shack. Okay, I can't talk about how bad this map is enough. There's going to be like a truck with a pallet, and then shack, and then a strong pallet right behind shack, chaining into probably another strong pallet, into a loop, into another strong pallet, and then all down the street there's shit too. There's pallets all down the street next to it. And then after you get past that loop, there's another loop chained directly into it. And in the back corner, there's that car loop with a window, which makes that loop so stupid. Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Garden of Joy is fucking horrible, bro. I don't know, dude. How do they continue to make maps this bad so consistently? It's so bad. And then Batum's also F tier. I don't really think I have to say anything. It has like all the strongest loops from old Haddonfield. But ironically, they added one building that's actually stronger than anything that was on old Haddonfield. With that 2-story building, even when you break the breakable walls. Which basically means there's 2 pre-dropped god pallets on that building. You have to break those breakable walls to even think of playing around that 2-story building. And then even with that, they have strong pallets all around it on most of the variations of Batum. You have a House of Pain. The main building, you usually, if anybody goes down in the main building, if you don't have basement, you have to break one of those breakable walls, which gives survivors an even better loop. So it hurts you to be able to fucking hook somebody on this stupid map. I'm sorry. This map can be so embarrassingly bad. But we're not going to talk about Hawkins because it's not in the game anymore. So this is my map tier list for killers. S tier are the best maps. F tier are the worst. That's pretty accurate from my point of view. And that's going to do it for this tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, you know, you might not agree with me, but let me know down in the comments what you think I got wrong. This isn't going to be for every single killer, again. But for the most part, for general killers, I would say this is how I feel about all the maps in Dead by Daylight. And if you could take one thing away from this, is that I feel like DBD really needs to put more of a focus on their newer maps, on making them more balanced and less just free strong stuff for survivors to run without thinking about it. But if you're not subscribed, remember to do that. We're super close to hitting 1,000, where we're going to be doing another giveaway, and I'm really excited to hit it. So with that out of the way, I'll catch you guys next time.